Okay, specifically, you want.
Hello, Abdul.
Hello?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, so you can just take us through all the things that were expected to, especially the sales guys and the trustees, what they're expected to follow when it comes to identifying the correct maize, especially when they bring samples or when they are asked to go check merchant samples of maize. So, what all the qualities they're expected to know about a good maize to avoid rejection from buyers.
Okay,
Hello,
good
Abdul.
morning,
Can you hear
everyone.
me?
Good morning,
Okay.
everyone.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
Once again, nice meeting everybody on this platform to discuss crop quality specification, where we are looking at maize as one of the commodities that we mostly is part of the focus crops that we deal with. Now, when it comes to maize, we have different types of maize. You have dent maize, you have flint corn, you have sweet corn, you have popcorn, you have flour corn. All these ones are the different types of corn you have. Now, when we talk about the mostly cultivated types of maize here in Nigeria, we specify them in some cases by color. You have the white maize, the yellow maize, and the red maize. So predominantly, these are the three types of maize that we know based on color and based on the nutritional value that they possess in terms of uh, consumption. Now, as you being the salesperson, you always have a target, you also have a scale that you are using to class the commodity you are either aggregating at the farm gate or the commodity you are getting from the merchant, the warehouse. So what you look at for it is whether it is white maize, yellow maize, or red maize. And also consider in terms of getting the specification, be sure of the standard or the moisture content of this particular maize you are looking at, because it's very much key and it's very much important. If you can determine the moisture content of the maize you are buying, is going to mold in the warehouse and it's going to mold at the CTC center. Those are some of the key things you look at: the type, the moisture content, how clean it is. It's very much important. And also check whether that maize has been treated, because there is a difference between seed and grain. The seed is the one you plant to get the grains, where the grain is the surplus out of the seed. Let me go over it again. The seed is what you use to plant. when you go to seed companies, they have them in sachet, they sell them in open market at farmers to buy. That one is seed. The grain is the leftover after you have taken out of the one you are going to cultivate as seed. The grains are the ones you see in the open market. You see them in bags, they sell them in mudu. Those ones at that particular point, we class them to be as grains. So whatever the farmer or the merchant is given to you to buy in large quantity or you're aggregating, just know that it is grain. And in order for you to get high quality grain, you have to check the kernel size. Are they small kernels? Are they big kernels? You have to determine the moisture content. You also have to determine how clean is it. Are there admixtures? Admixtures are, in common sense, when you have yellow maize mixed with white maize, mixed with red maize, you have stones, you have pebbles, you have all form of other materials in between. Those ones are what we call admixtures. And if you look at those admixtures, they have the advantage to you, the buyer, and they have the disadvantage to you, the buyer. The disadvantage here to you, the buyer, is this. Now, the volume of what you are buying has given you the exact reading. But when you are looking at the quality of that particular grain, the quality has reduced, because if they are going to clean it, automatically, if you are getting 90 kg, you end up of getting maybe 75 kg or 80 kg. Thereby, you have a deficit of 10 kgs or 15 kgs that you know you've already lost. So in order for you to avert that loss, you always have to determine how clean it is, this variety, how clean is the variety you are buying from the farmer. What is the moisture content? What is the type? Is it yellow maize? Is it white maize? Now, in the previous years, there has been more preference on the yellow maize, because the demand for yellow maize is greater than the demand for the white maize. So if you are sourcing maize at farm gate, or you are sourcing from the merchant, it is always good for you to harmonize that communication with the sales department. Which of the varieties should I place more emphasis on? Is it the yellow maize? Is it the white maize? So it is always good for you to have this one as standard quality specification while sourcing for maize. Try to determine, is it the type? Is it white, yellow, or red? Try to determine the standard quality. How clean is it? What is the grain? What is the kernel size? Are they well clean? Are there admixtures in it? And also try to determine the weight. The weight is per bag the farmers are bringing. Now, if you are buying from the market, or you are asking for the office to fund your transaction when it comes to grains, they won't give you price specifically on per bag. What we always get from our buyers, it is per metric ton. So you should be able to determine what is the weight of that bag you are buying. How many bags can give me 1 metric ton? Because if you can't correlate that directly at that point, you tend to get the whole transaction wrong. Because there are some bags that could be 75 kg, there are some could be 60 kg. And if what you are buying, and they will tell you that getting 10 bags can give you 1 metric ton, and if the bags are around 70 kg, you will not be able to get 1 metric ton. Maybe you end up aggregating 14 bags to get 1 metric ton. So it's also advisable for you to make it as a requirement by determining the weight of that particular grain you are going for, whether maize, whether soya beans, whether it's sesame. When it comes to commodities like sesame, we are buying them in two forms or in two ways. You can buy either the clean and unclean. And in most cases, people do ask, what is the percentage purity, or what is the percentage of cleanliness you have with your sesame seed? Mostly we target around 90% to 95%, because you will still have some amount of cleaning to do. While if you are buying the unclean type of the sesame seed, you always make a discount that the farmer is bringing, because there is always discount, because there are stones, there are sand inside the sesame, because the time they were doing the post-harvest work or on the sesame while cleaning it, They will just do that cleaning on the bare ground, and when they are done, they will just do a little bit of cleaning, pack the sand, pack the sesame, everything together inside the bag. So you, the salesperson, you determine whether this one is clean or it's not clean. If it is not clean, you should have a discount you are making from that bag you are buying. Let's assume the bag is after weighing, it can give you maybe like 115, 120 kg. Now, what is the discount you are going to place in terms of impurities of that sesame seed you are buying? Now, you determine either in terms of volume or in terms of weight or in terms of cash. Let's say, for example, if it is in terms of cash and you are buying it at 7,000 naira per bag, and what the farmer brought is unclean. Now you have to place a discount, either 1,500 or 2,000 naira as discount, because you cannot determine the amount of impurities inside the bag. So you always place a discount. That is one, if you are monetizing it, the discount. Then two, if you are monetizing it in terms of weight, what are you to do? If it is 115 kg, are you going to discount 5 kg from it, or are you going to discount 15 kg from that? These are some of the way you can get the quality you need from your commodities. Now, when you come to the area of sorghum, the same thing is applicable like for maize. You have the yellow sorghum, you have the white sorghum. In some cases, they have the red sorghum. Now, try to determine the weight there, try to determine the moisture content, try to determine how clean is the sorghum, how clean is the grain. If you are able to factor all these things out, your transaction will be done smoothly, because admixtures always is an issue. To you, it's a disadvantage. To the farmer that what you do, you try to determine how clean is the commodity you are buying. When it comes to soybeans, try also to get the kernels. Are they small kernel? That is the seed. The bigger the seed, the less it will occupy the bag. But the smaller the seed or the kernel size, the more that will be filled inside the bag. So you always try to determine. It's also applicable when it comes to maize. Like when you are buying white maize, like this Monsanto seed, that is DK77, the grains are big. But when you look at other varieties for Pioneer seed, when you are looking for Pioneer seed, the yellow one, their kernel size are small, especially when they are seeds. So always try to determine all these factors, always determine all these things in your sourcing. When we are talking about maize, we always place priority on the color. We place priority more on the color and the standard quality of that particular maize. We always look for white maize. We have Samaz 52, Samaz 59, Samaz 60, Samaz 61, Samaz 62. All these ones are types of yellow maize that other manufacturers or other seed companies they have. We don't normally look at seed company. We always look at a particular brand that the off-taker may need, or the particular brand that the big company that is buying from us that needs, or whom we are going to supply to. But we always place more priority on yellow maize. We also do source white maize. White maize is part of it, but we always target yellow maize as the key crop we are looking at in terms of our commodity sourcing. And all this one I've just been saying is just like a repetition from most other grains that we are buying at the open market or farm gate or from the warehouse. Always try to determine all these little ingredients as standard qualities you have to follow in terms of commodity sourcing. Back to you, Shola, if there is question to ask with the little explanation I have given.
Yes, thank you, Abdul. So, is there anyone that have any questions with regards to grains? What is specification for grains? Okay, so I think we'll just move on to the next speaker now, since there's no indication. All right, so Priscilla. So Priscilla will be taking us through quality specification for uh, fresh fruit bunch and crude palm oil. All right, Priscilla, please you can start now.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ma.
Okay, good morning, and let you know you guys are hearing me. Now on fresh fruit bunches. First of all, we have the bunches, and then secondly we have the fresh fruits. Depending on what is available for supplies, the bunches are the ones we already have. We've been talking about this, so by now you should be familiar with what the bunch of oil palm bunch is. The bunches is the one that has a stem with it and fruits with mesocap and exocap in them, while the fresh fruits are just when it's been detached, when the fruits itself has been detached from the bunch. That's the fresh fruits. So you either get the bunches that has the fresh fruits in them, or you supply just the fresh fruits. But to make it easier, the fresh fruits is after harvesting within 24 hours. The fresh fruits is a bit tedious to get out and supply under 24 hours after harvest. But supplying the bunches is easier and faster. It saves time, and then it won't lead to your bunches being or your fresh fruits at the end of the day being rejected, because to strip it out, to strip the fresh fruit out from the bunches to make the fresh fruit supplies that same day within 24 hours, you need a stripper, and you may not likely have that. And you need to, even if you need to use machetes to cut them down, it will not be that easy to pull it out that same day to make that supplies. So I'll just, for the sake of time, I'll just focus only on the bunches. Supply the bunches. For as we all know, or as we've been talking about it over time now, oil palm, for you to have your quality specification right, you have to start from cultivation. Oil palm quality starts from cultivation, from the time it's planted to maintenance. If it is not gotten right, if everything is wrong, definitely your bunches, the weight will be wrong, and then another part will be when your bunches is wrong, then you won't have much money you're expecting, because it's all boils down to bunches. Now, when you talk about a ton of a bunch of fresh fruit bunch, for instance, you're looking at 10 bunches to make, you're looking at 100 bunches to make a ton. But with that, you can't just say 100 bunches can make a ton. But you have to also be sure of the weight. At this point, I started from weights first, because without the weights, you won't have the tons that you're looking at. So if you want to be sure of your bunches and the sizes, you have to have your skill. Some people, sometimes you can weigh. You can do the weighing. Doing the weighing one by one is tedious, it's time consuming. it will save time. So to make it effectively, you have to do the weighing at once. Difference is if different farmers are coming with different bunches, you have to know the number of bunches particular farmer came with, and then after putting them on the scale, you'll be able to know what it weighs for that particular farmer. Now, depending on the number of farmers who actually brought bunches for supplies, after weighing them, they all have to know what their weights are. And when you're doing oil palm bunches, you bear in mind it's a bit technical, and I wouldn't use the word complicated, but it's a bit technical. When you're weighing oil palm bunches, know that the same weight you had at 10 o'clock, for instance, it was harvested at 7 a.m. If you weigh it at 7 a.m., if you come to weigh that same bunches again at 12, know that the weight must have dropped. That's why supplying bunches in 24 hours is more of a teamwork thing, that almost all the farmers, everyone involved must get their bunches on time for movement, considering the distance for delivery as well, so that plus or minus the weight difference will not be that much to a point that it will affect both the farmer and affect Zoacell as a profit-making organization. So when you're doing the weighing, you also have to consider the quality of the palms before you weigh them. First of all, you have to do a check. There is this simple check of trying to pull out the FFB from the bunch. Now, if the bunch is harvested that same day, like I said, it will be hard for it to pull. Another thing also is if it is overripe, it will pull. That's another. It will be easy to pull out from the bunch. So there are some things you need to know practically about it when you're doing that check, to also minimize loss and also minimize issues while checking for the bunches and then preparing for delivery or doing delivery. So apart from all that, after weighing them, the movement time should also be considered between the location of pickup and location of delivery. So you have to calculate the time frame you're moving, plus or minus what it will take you to do to arrive at the location, the destination, before you even embark on that movement. Now, if it's not feasible that it's possible that same time or that period time frame you will be able to arrive for delivery, you now have to plan well before you even start harvesting. If you don't do all that calculation into one, it will affect the time of harvest, but affect the time of weighing, affect the time of loading, and then affect the time of movement and delivery. So for oil palm, bunches and delivery, that's typically what we need to actually put into consideration if we need to do effective delivery without reducing the hitches in it. Let's just reduce the risk from the time of harvest to the time of loading and movement, and then leave every other risk to whatever circumstance that may happen. But if all these things are done timely, delivery will be made without issues. I don't know if there's any question.
Yes, good morning, all.
Good morning.
Yeah, I quite appreciate the points you are raising on the oil palm. I'm keenly interested. For the benefit or the knowledge of everybody in the webinar, I am responding from Akwa Ibom. The reason why I'm specifically mentioning Akwa Ibom is because of the circumstances surrounding the area. We know quite well that oil palm is one of our main focal points in the crop sector. We focus on oil palm, and we don't have this means of harvesting first, harvesting to get it right within 24 hours, so as to get it right and deliver within 24 hours. And also, we don't have a cycle, harvesting cycle that you could have to the number of tonnage that you might require to lift at a point. You might need to pick it from various farmers to get to the point to the tonnage that you want to lift. Another aspect we are having is we don't have a means of conveying, considering the route from Akwa Ibom to Calabar. We don't have means of conveying this product from here immediately. How will Sohasel, because why I'm placing all these things is for us to make a realistic goal or approach to this issue. Not something that we just make on a kind of talk show, just talk. At the end of the day, the thing will not be realistic. Farmers are eager to sell their products. How realistic are these things?
Hello.
I think we've lost him there, but I think you got the question.
Yes, I got the question. I wanted him to land first before.
Okay.
Yes. But he has to be here also. I just hope he's online to hear strategies on how to get it right.
Maybe is there any other question while we wait for Silvana? Okay, Anna, please go ahead. All right, Anna Kazam, you raised your hand.
I raised my hand because we could not hear what you said concerning the maize. It's breaking. We didn't hear you at all. Thank you.
All right, Anna, we're sorry about that. Probably that was the network. So maybe we'll go over it, the maize again, if we've got time, or else we'll be sharing the recordings to the group chat after the meeting. But okay, Priscilla, while we wait for Silvanus, I think we'll go to the next speaker because of time. So Friday, we have Friday here. Okay. Friday, please, you can go start with the cocoa, and then Abel will join in or add him to wherever you go. Hello, Friday. Are you here? Okay, I don't think maybe Friday is not hearing us. Abel, please, can you start with cocoa for us while we wait for Friday to join in?
Thank you, Oluwashola. Good morning to you all. My name is Ogunleye Abel, lead sustainable sourcing for Zoacell, cover Southwest. Firstly, I would like to tell you all that we've launched our CTC in the West this week, one in Bamikemo, in the Oluji local government, Ondo State, and the other one in Idori local government in Ondo State. At least congratulate me for that, please. We are happy to be here, to be part of your dreams, and we are always on ground to answer your questions and to solve problems pertaining to agro commodities in Nigeria. Here we are. We push ourselves to be here, and I think we need to start getting it right now before it should be too late. Presently, Nigeria is not on the table or on the right position to say they are actually producing cocoa in the world. Of course, we are recognized, but we are not where we're supposed to be. We are down the log. So, what are the problems? What are the problems of, and what are the problems we can't solve that we need to work towards in order to be able to be at the right spot? Cocoa, as we all know, is the second commodities or income generating commodities for Nigeria aside the crude oil. So it is very important to know that we can actually earn more money if we decide to do it right. And the main problem we are facing now is that of quality assurance in Nigeria. That's why they are buying our cocoa at a low amount or low cost compared to what they are buying in other countries. What are we doing that we need to start correcting presently? I will first start from the farm. Of course, like I am in talk with someone now, and she asked me that the climate change is the issue, and we need to make more awareness on the climate change. Climate change is here, and I don't think we have the power to actually change the climate change or to make anything that will correct our effects now. So what can we do now to stay healthy, to stay, to increase our livelihood, to make sure that we feed our families, our wives, and so on and so forth? Now, climate change has been there. It is very difficult for us to raise new seedlings or for seedlings to survive on the field, probably because of the drought and lack of rain and all that. But something has been happening in cocoa sector, most especially in the West here. We take cocoa house every day or probably every month. Of course, cocoa fruits around the year, just that the volume differs. So as we are taking cocoa out, we are selling. Most of our farmers from the ages neglected or they've been neglecting the soil. What am I saying? You are taking minerals out of the soil every day. You are not giving back. Because cocoa is a tree, of course, agroforestry, cocoa will fruit. But most of our farmers are not actually taking into consideration what is happening to that very tree. Cocoa that gave you 200, that gave you 20 pods last year, suddenly this year, you only counted 10. Because you sold some and you think you have money in your pocket, you do not care to know what is actually happening to that plot. Something is happening, probably the soil. It can not always be the climate. So I'm telling you, we should endeavor to know what is happening to our soil. What am I saying in essence? When you are taking your pods every day out, make sure you give back to the soil. Now, I know it's a problem for us to have access to chemicals or agrochemicals, fertilizer, and all that. But you have other ways by which you can actually add fertility to the soil. Number one is your cocoa pod. Cocoa pod husk has been seen as one of the major options by which farmer can use to replenish the soil. Let me tell you the one fact. When cocoa pod husk is well decayed, not only it will add more nutrient to the soil, it will also increase the structure of the soil. What are we talking about the structure? When the structure of the soil is good, it will be easier for that structure to give out nutrients and also to take in more water. We have two types of pores in the soil. Let me go there. That's why we encourage people to farm on clay loamy soil so that their soil will be able to retain water for a longer period. If you are planting on a sandy soil, forget it. You have nothing to gain at the end of the day. except you are forcing yourself to make end meet without farm plot. So you can make use of cocoa pod husk, spread it accordingly. When you break them, don't pack them in an area. Spread them accordingly on your field. Spread them during the dry season. Don't do this in the wet season to avoid uh, contamination and spreading of diseases. Spread them accordingly. You are improving your soil. Aside that, if we have cocoa farmers here, I will encourage you to always plant fertilizer trees. Of course, you ask me, oh, you are talking nonsense again. Oh, where am I going to get fertilizer trees? We have trees in Nigeria that can actually improve our soil and also give back nitrogen, most especially to the soil. Aside from the fact that trees trap carbon, help us to reduce climate change effects by which they trap CO2 and store carbon into the soil, there are some trees that give nitrogen directly to the soil, most especially Gliricidia. If we have Yoruba people here, Gliricidia is agumoniye. You can actually plant this tree on your farm, and I can tell you, plant it accordingly. On 1 hectare of farmland, we advise you to plant 6 to 12 trees, 6 to 12 trees randomly or at a strategic point on your field. So instead of planting any tree to form shade, you can also plant trees that will improve your soil. This will actually enable you to have more and more minerals to your soil. At the end of the day, your cocoa plants or cocoa trees will do well. Also, many of us, we have poultry, we have cow ranches, and so on and so forth. What is happening to the poultry dung and cow dungs in your environment? This is direct access to inorganic fertilizer. In short, it is very expensive that it will be so bad of you to throw them away if you don't make use of them on your farmland. So all the dungs, pack them, you can apply them accordingly, you can spread them on your feed. This one will add more nutrients or fertility to the soil. It will help you whether you like it or not. For example, at the back of my house, I have cocoa trees there and I have rabbits. As you all know, rabbits will poo, right? I always pack the poo of the rabbits and spread them accordingly around my cocoa tree. You need to see my cocoa tree now. If I have the video, I can show you. The level at which they are actually providing leaves is honestly higher than cocoa trees I used to see on the farm. Why? I take my time to take care of those little trees. So if cocoa has been your major source of income, that's your office. Try to calculate how you work and how to see to the health of the soil and your cocoa tree so that you can earn more money. So now let's go to the quality per se. Most of us, we just want to sell and earn immediately. Sell, get money. But honestly, what you are doing is affecting you and it's affecting every other person because many people are actually watching you, whether you like it or not. Your kids are there, they are watching you the way you are doing it. Our daddy will go to the farm, break the pod immediately that same day, they will bring it home and spread it on to the sun. And the next few days, they will sell it and have money. Are you passing any message at all? And it is well known that as a cocoa farmer, we need to harvest, break accordingly, and ferment for 5 to 7 days. Ferment accordingly. What is the essence of fermentation? Are you not wasting my time? Someone should be asking me that. No. You are actually helping your cocoa beans, number one, to have more aroma, at the same time to get rid of slaty. Now, any first buyer or any buyer in the world will reject your cocoa if you have more slaty. This has happened to us once, right? One of our merchants actually sold 20 metric tons on our platform. Getting to the buyer, the slaty was around 25% instead of 5%. Nobody will take that. It was rejected. Now, consider the logistic costs, the stress on it. It was on a loss. So he started looking for buyer up and down. So nobody would teach that person that he needs to tell his farmers to always do it right. Don't bring cocoa home and spread it to the sun. The next day, let it get fermented. Another one is to look out for something we call clusters. You guys, some people, they are not aware. Cluster is when you have 2 or let's say 3 to 4 or 5 beans coming together, sticky beans. Let us endeavor whenever we are spreading our cocoa to remove this. Those ones we know that we can remove, please separate them. They discount for this. Most companies spend millions of naira not only to destone or to also remove the cluster beans. If you go to Barikali Bot as I'm talking to you, you will see where they are packing their cluster beans somewhere. This is shortage because they can't introduce those clusters to their plants. It will spoil their machines. So these are part of the reasons they buy our cocoa very cheap, because they know Nigerians, they will not do it right. Of course, in Nigeria too, if you bring cocoa from Benin, bring cocoa from Igbora in the western part of Nigeria here, they have the impression that they are not doing their cocoa very well. Meanwhile, some people are actually trying to get it right. But because of that impression that they will not do it right, they will buy that cocoa cheaply or they reject it. So it is now done on us that it is no more the government that needs to come around to come and help us. We need to help ourselves. We need to tell the truth to ourselves that don't let us stop lying against climate change all the time. Some problems are actually caused by individual, by us. Of course, we know climate change is a big problem all over the world. But are we doing it right too? Farmers, they said they find it difficult to actually plant seedlings that will cross over to the next year. What are you doing? As a such farmer, where are you getting your seedlings? A farmer that just pluck a pod from a 50 or 100-year-old tree, not that same pod, transplant it and expect such plant to do well. No, it will not do well. It will not do well. Go to the research institute. You can actually talk to us to help you to get pods, or ask us where you can get cocoa seedlings. We ask you, we tell you where to go. We are going to tell you how to do it, when to transplant, the right time and the right spot. Of course, now you can't plant cocoa without using some chemicals. You have to treat and combat the insects. What type of insecticide do you need to use? Of course, we still have growth stimulation chemicals now. We can tell you, use this, use that, combine this with this, use this fertilizer at the right time. Before you know it, your cocoa will survive. It is a lie that cocoa will not survive in Nigeria, except those areas where we have critical dryness. But here in the West, that you have 7 to 8 months rainfall, forget it. Your cocoa must survive. So this is things we need to look at in order to make more end meet. The essence of being a farmer is to actually feed your family. Now, if a farmer in the last 10 years was actually getting 1.5 metric tons on his farm, and as at yesterday, he was telling me that I couldn't get up to 2 bags, what is the problem? What is the problem? So we need to talk about this. We need to talk to ourselves. We need to learn how to do it right. So I've talked about quality assurance. Now, what about other parameters that they check in terms of quality? Some of us, we don't care about the dates or placentas we had up to our cocoa. This is very bad of us. In Nigeria presently, many companies that I know, they spend money to sieve our cocoa before they are going to transport it on the sea. They will sieve accordingly to remove the dirt. And when you weigh the dirt at the end of the day, you will see that it is in tons, which means they will continue to buy our cocoa at a cheaper price. So when you are bringing your cocoa to us, there is no way we will not ask you to pour it on the sieve it yourself. Then we are going to weigh. Of course, the transparency is there. You are going to see what your cocoa is actually weighing. Then we pay you accordingly. Nobody will pay for moisture, water, or I will pay for foreign matters. No, I wouldn't. So make sure you sieve, remove accordingly, then bring it to us. You will get good money. And whenever you are coming next time, they won't bother to ask you, right? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? They already know that you are used to the system. The person will check and pay you accordingly. That is what is happening in Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. But here in Nigeria, I think maybe the awareness is not there, or the awareness is not enough, or we just want to continue to do it in a wrong manner because of our system. But I'm actually telling you, please do it right so that you earn more money. And when you earn more money, not just for now, the more money should be able to transfer from us to our generation. That's sustainability. So also, when you want to sell your cocoa, watch out for the moisture. Please watch out for the moisture. Some of us can actually wear cocoa from our house, and if cocoa is not well dried, you are not only contributing to the bad system, you are shortchanging the buyer. Some buyers might not even know if they don't have the aqua boy, the two. They will buy, give you money. At the end of the day, they will discount them heavily. So any cocoa wrong. So if you are even bringing cocoa to my store that is 10 to 12%, just be rest assured that I'm discounting you about 4 to 5%. So that's a huge amount on a bag or on a ton. So let us do it right. That is, we need to dry it very well. Also, consider the right time for the harvest. Don't harvest when the rainfall is high. What am I saying? Consider the time frame when you want to harvest so that you know that the sun will come out, definitely come out, and you dry, then you sell. What am I saying in essence? If you harvest and you couldn't sun dry after 5 or 7 days, my dear farmers, be rest assured that your cocoa will be moldy. And mold is a big problem in Nigeria cocoa value chain now. Nobody will take any cocoa that is more than, let's say, 10%. The specification says we must perfect our cocoa and make it 7%. But once it's more than 7%, the percentage is high, it should be rejected. What am I saying? Cocoa that is moldy will give us high FFA, free fatty acid. And this is very, very not consumable to our consumers. That is, people buying it from abroad. So when when FFA is more than 2.5 in the lab, that such consignment of cocoa will be rejected. So make sure you target time when you are going to sun dry and you dry perfectly. Cocoa that is moisture will actually cause mold. Also, make sure you store your cocoa very well. We always advise that we store our cocoa on pallets. And also avoid your cocoa touching the wall. You know, cocoa can actually attract moisture easily. Don't let your cocoa be very close or touching the wall. Let that be space and store on pallet. What about logistics? When we are moving our cocoa from one place to the other, make sure you put your cocoa inside jute bag, and arrange accordingly. After arrangement, make sure you use tarpaulin to cover. Nobody can predict rain. Don't say, I have clear weather. I don't think rain will fall today. If you move 5 minutes before you get a filling station to actually put your car, your cocoa must have been totally wet and destroyed, whether you like it or not. Always put tarpaulin on your commodities so that you save such commodity from rainfall. Also, I think the next thing I'll talk about is always use the right and recommended agrochemicals. Always use the right and recommended agrochemicals. Always use the right and recommended agrochemicals. I'm repeating it because this is a big problem in Nigeria now. Most of cocoa coming from Cameroon has been discovered to contain poisonous and banned chemicals. What am I saying? There are some chemicals that has been banned for so long. They still use it over there, like Basudin, like Red Phos, and so on and so forth. All these chemicals contains poisonous active ingredients that has been banned by CRIN and some other bodies that we should stop using it in Nigeria. So before they will take any consignment in Nigeria, most especially the processors, before they will take cocoa butter or cocoa powder, they always look at the active ingredient, the maximum residual level of those chemicals. If it is higher, more than what international laws stipulated, they are going to reject such consignment. And you know what this means for us in Nigeria. So if a processor could not actually export his or her finished good products, that means Our cocoa is not valuable. Nobody will buy it in higher with a good price. That's just it. So, without taking much of your time, I will encourage us to always do it right, and I believe we are going to get it right. To go once again, don't forget to give back what you are taking from the soil back to the soil. Please give back to the soil. It's like us, human being. If you have a maid or you have an helper in your house, you've been using such helper over time, you are not giving him our food, you are not replenishing his our energy, such person will die off very soon. The same thing is happening to the soil. Soil might not be a living thing, but actually, there are so many things we are taking off from the soil that we need to return back. Make sure you use organic fertilizer. If you have access to inorganic fertilizer, use it accordingly, according to recommendation. Also, look for alternative ways to actually add fertility to your soil. I said you can use cocoa products, that is, you can spread them accordingly. Also, you can plant you. And you can reach out to me anytime you have more questions. God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Hey, Bill, thank you. So, I wanted to ask a question. So, if I brought a cocoa to your crop centers now, say I want to sell cocoa to you, so what are the things that you'll be checking? Maybe you or any of your salesmen. What are the important things you'll be checking in the cocoa before you accept it from me?
Hello, Shola.
Yes, can you hear me? Yes.
Please come again. Come again. I didn't get that question.
I want to sell cocoa to you in your crop test center. So if I brought it to you now, what are the important things you will check to accept it from me? The first things you check in the cocoa before you can accept it at the crop test center.
Yeah, thank you very much, Oluwashola. The first thing uh, I will check before taking your cocoa in is the moisture. At the crop center, we have Aquaboy, which is a major tool we use in checking the moisture. Of course, I'll check your moisture, record it accordingly. Not, we can't just reject all cocoa because of moisture. That's just a fact. If your cocoa is within the range of 7 to 10, still okay. But mind you, I will discount you accordingly. So thereafter, I will wait to check your weight. Like I said, we are using platform scales, which is digital. So when I put your cocoa on the platform scale, you are going to see it by yourself. I will advise you to record while I record. Then thereafter, I will now do what we call quality assurance check. The first thing I will do is to take out samples from your cocoa, depending on the tonnage. If it is 1 ton, I will take accordingly minimum of 2 kg. I will mix thoroughly. I will check for your bean weight. Sometimes they call it bean count. I will check for your bean count. Right now, we are in the season of light crop. I think the minimum some buyers are requesting for is 265 above. So if your bean count is uh, not meeting up to that specification, your cocoa can be rejected. So what am I saying in essence? If your bean count is very low, in some areas now, like in Gboran and Co, I think we have like 222 gram, 230 gram, 221, and so on and so forth. Whereas in and it can go above. So depending on your areas, so we can actually take your if you have good bean count, but if you have lower bean count, it will be rejected. Thereafter, I will check for slaty. I will check for your slaty. If your slaty is okay, fine. That is 5% above. If it is more than 5%, Guys, please, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. If your mode is more than 5%, we are going to discount you on that. But if it is 5%, fine. So thereafter, I think we are going to bag very well and store very well. Then we pay for, we are going to, by the way, please, please, being weight or being count, we check for your slate, we check your flat pins and foreign matter, we are going to pay you. Thank you very much, Oduwashola.
Yes, thank you, Abel. So do we have anyone with a question for Abel? Okay, Aminu, please go ahead. Aminu, please go ahead. Okay, while we wait for Aminu, Priscilla, please, it seems Sylvanus is maybe he's having network issue. Please, I'd like you to attend to his question. So probably when you go watch the recording, you can get his answer. The question Sylvanus asked earlier. Hello, Priscilla. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear Shola. Hello, are you hearing me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I got you. I got you partly. You said I should handle I didn't get you.
Yes, Sylvanus question. The question he asked earlier.
Okay.
So when you get the recording, you can watch it because it seems he's having network issues.
Okay. First of all, he was actually he's supposed to be here because I'll need to ask him the issues he has in his area, because advantage in Akwa Ibom State is that they're in clusters. Different local governments actually inter kind of like intercommunicate. Different communities come into different local government at the same time, so you can have 3 local governments in the same area. Now, and another thing, he talked about conveyance. That's a different one, and that's not really an issue. It's about logistics now. It's a tonnage that's getting up to 30-ton trucks. 30 tons they're looking at now is to take advantage of the clusters. That's number one. And then number two, I wanted to ask him if his community where he is has because there's some communities and there's some clusters who have traditional laws on days of harvest for oil palm. So I needed him to answer all that. Then we now move to the next thing to do. If those communities have days they have specific days for harvest of oil palm, then that one is even easier to work with, because you definitely know that all the farmers will harvest at the specified days for harvest. And then if they don't have, Then he has to work with what was the last time, the previous harvest of the farmers in his farmer group or in his environment, in his location, in his cluster now. Because that cluster, I think he has a bit into, apart from Uyo local government, the other little clusters are there. So he has to look at the previous harvest period, harvest time of the farmers, and the next harvest time. Now, secondly, he will now look at the harvest, the farmers that have harvested before now. What are their palm stands? What number of palm stands do they have in each of their farmlands? Now, after getting number of palm stands that they have, we already have the average of if those farmers are actually practicing BMP, we can have average of 4 to 5 per palm stand, depending on if the farmer is practicing BMP. Definitely from there he can calculate how many bunches he's expecting from those clusters. And then from the clusters now, after knowing how many, you can even work together. I wanted him to be here. I would have asked him all these questions. From his answers, we can work together, seeing what we can do between his area and the CTC area to get a delivery at the same time. It's workable. It's just to get the farmers there, know if they are under communities that have traditional days of harvest. Those ones you can't harvest if it is not that day. They have penalties. So most of them have such things. So those that don't have are the ones that you can work with at any day of the week or any week of the month. The harvest can happen, and then delivery can be made. So is to work with the clusters firstly. Secondly, ask previous days of last harvest. Then thirdly, work with the number of palm stands each of the farmers who are willing to sell their bunches. And then another thing too, I find that in another thing that is there is their price differences in each clusters. That they have that price difference for bunches in each clusters. So some persons may decide to sell. Some persons may decide to sell, okay, in heaps, they do heaps. It can say a heap is 10,000. And then whereas like in the CTC area, a heap is not up to 10,000. So, and then the farmers there are willing, depending on actually the heap size, the bunch size. That's another thing. It's depending on the bunch size too. So all these things, if you were here, I would have asked him, and then we know how we go about it so that he knows where to come from. If it's to come from the price first, and then the pricing first, and then work with the farmers who are not in clusters that have traditional harvest days for oil palm, and then we now know how many palm stands they have, and know how many farmers who are doing BMP, and those who are not doing BMP, you can estimate the number of palms you're expecting from them by asking them what's their maximum per stand and maximum per harvest. They will tell you, they know how many bunches they do per harvest. Then you can now know the quantity you get from each places. Then just bring them. It's smallholder farmers, so you just look at getting here a little, there a little, and then get. But just to get that first step, then we know the day of harvest. Everybody can do the harvest and then do delivery.
Okay, Priscilla, thank you for the info. So Friday, do you have anything you would like to add to the?
Yes, can you get me now?
Yes, you can.
Initially, you couldn't hear me. I was like talking. I thought everyone is speaking. I have to switch off my tab to on it again. Actually, Gabriel, Mr. Abel, well done. He has said everything I wanted to say. Just to add little to it, from the soil, the fields before taking your cocoa to the marketplace. We want to encourage everyone present here. It's a privilege to be on this webinar, so that when you go back to your various fields, you'll be able to talk to the farmers to do the right thing. I know training has been going on severally, but farmers still go back to their old way. And that's why this year, as the agronomists working with the farmers on the field, we started with the first process for already established cocoa. We started with the pruning process, and we told them the advantages of this pruning, where they can harvest bigger pods with good quality beans. When we get it right on the field, we will not get it when you take your cocoa to the merchant or the local buying agent. Nobody will give you unnecessary discount, and that's why we train farmers already on the right insecticide and the right pesticide to use, be it insecticide or fungicide. We advise them to use not to use maybe any cypermethrin, go for thiamethoxam or any other good insecticide from reputable company. And good to know that Zoacell is partnering with some of these companies that produce quality insecticide. Now we are in the period of fungicide spray. Some farmers say they go for, just as Abel says, some farmers go for something like gamalin, some of the banned substance. If you use banned pesticide, definitely the residue will be high and your cocoa will be rejected. Even as I talk to you, even the one approved right now of cuprous oxide and metalaxy, there's a research going on right now to even do away with a product that has copper oxide. And that's why it's good. I'm telling our farmers here that it's a privilege to be on this platform. We always avail them the latest information on what to use. Now the farmers, how do you spray? Some farmers, when they want to spray fungicide, they will spray the entire field. No, when you are spraying against black pod for your fungicide, you target your cocoa pod so that they won't be black. Because if you have a healthy cocoa pod, definitely you have a quality bean. Following other process you are going to, maybe like the pod breaking, the fermentation, the drying process. But let's start from the field. Have good, healthy cocoa pod that is free from any disease. You know, the popular disease about cocoa is the black pod. So if you're able to take care of that, then the next thing is what? When your cocoa is ready for harvest, what do you do? Some people in the process of breaking the pod, they use a very sharp other, thereby causing injury to your bean. You need to use what? A blunt substance, like someone would say a blunt cutlass or a wooden club to break your pod. When you do that, you will definitely see that you remove the black and flat beans and other waste. So what am I trying to say? While breaking your pod, do it very well. And after that, you are going to the fermentation process. Just as Abel said, some farmers will not want to ferment for that 6 or 7 days. They want to ferment because they know that the other man did not ferment and he sold it at a particular price. We want to encourage our farmers, please ensure you ferment and your cocoa is well dry, and it will definitely, the quality will be there. Just as Abel said, if your cocoa do not have that good aroma, some people will not even go close to you, or they'll give you a price that will make you to even take your cocoa back home. And we know agriculture is business. It's no longer that way of life that you say, let me sell at any price. Check out our farmers in developed country. They sell their cocoa because they follow the protocol. They sell their cocoa far, far better than what we do in Nigeria or in Africa. And I give you an example. Just 2-3 years ago, the cocoa we sent to Switzerland at a very ridiculous price. Those guys processed and sent it back to us at ×2 of the price. If I tell you, you will wait for our farmers. We've been suffering and we need to get it right. I believe with Zoacell coming into the process, we'll train our farmers on the right quality specification, the right product to use, and the crop quality specification, so that by the time you bring your cocoa to our CTC, you will not have any unnecessary discount. Shola also made mention of what are the things we need to look out for. Abe has mentioned mold, slaty. I also want to look at foreign matters. When you are drying your cocoa, some farmers just dry it anyhow and try to package, just to increase the weight of their cocoa. Please, you have to do away with that. Ensure that you check your cocoa before taking it to the crop test center for you to sell. Avoid anything like foreign matter. Then there's what we call the cocoa-related matter. That is a combination of cluster bean, broken bean, and flat bean. If that is found in your cocoa, you'll be discounted. And that's what I see most of the warehouse do in Atikon, where I stay. They need to be aware of that. Then there's what we call the total defection bean. Total defection being is what total mold plus total insect damage, and that's why when I talked earlier, I talked about your cocoa need to be free from insect. What time do I spray my cocoa to be free from insect? We spray 3 times, January to February, May to June, of which we are in May now, May to June, and August, September. These are times you spray your cocoa against any. And what are the popular insects that disturb our cocoa? Mirids. Mirids damage a lot of our cocoa, and it cause a lot of damage to our cocoa pod and every other thing. Please, we need to spray against it, and that's why we are on the field. You can reach out to us anytime to direct you on what to do. When you do that, you see that you will not have any issue with your quality. Just as Abel said, slating as a result of not doing your fermentation very well. We encourage you to ferment 6 to 7 days. You will not have issue, and dry your cocoa. Why we have mold is as a result of you not drying your cocoa very well. I believe if you follow this process with our guidance, with our agronomy, field agronomists by your side in north and south, definitely we will not have issue with our cocoa business. We're going to produce quality cocoa. We are going to do good business with quality cocoa, and we'll make more money and sell at a good price. And that's why ZOACell is there for you, to provide the platform. Because if you want a quality price, you need to present to us quality cocoa. And by so doing, we also my home to the bank. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your input. Okay. So, do we have any questions before we round up here? Any question or further contribution? Okay, Commissioner.
Good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon.
I want to. It's not that question. I want to say something concerning this meeting this afternoon. It's a very nice, as it was said, with this vision. But what I want to say, like the case of our OVA Nasarawa State, particularly, let me just say, this is a rainy season, and to get farmers to get them is very good, and I will say that, but in order to get them in numbers, much number, it will be very, very good dry season. But by now that rain is falling and by that farm, you know one thing with farmers, but I'm just saying because of the rain season now, to get them properly for this training, telling them it will be a kind of get their attention that just a kind of wasting time. That is what I want to say. But we tried our own best with this ZOACell vision, very nice vision, to educate farmer to do how to prepare their crop for better sale. It's very nice. So this is what I want to say.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner, for your inputs. All right, so do you have any other person with any? Aminu, I think Aminu raised his hand earlier. Aminu, do you have any question for us or any inputs?
Okay, ma, there is no question, ma. There was no question, please.
All right, okay. Okay, so I think we're going to round up. We've used a lot of time here now. Okay, Gabriel.
All right, thank you very much for this opportunity. Just take me back.
Hello, Gabriel.
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, Shola, can you get me? Like what you type in that specification tag is cocoa related matter.
What did you say?
And I said that thing is cocoa related matters. Then the next one is total defection bin. Total defection bin.
All right. Okay. Gabriel, we couldn't hear you. Your voice was very low.
All right. Sir, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Am I audible now? Okay.
Yes, you
sir.
are.
All right. Good afternoon once again, everyone, and very interesting discussion out here, getting it right. Crop quality specifications on various commodities that is being traded on Zoa Cell platform. Can you please take me to the slide Abdul talked on as regards grains, please? Yes, just little addition to the specifications to check. He has rightly mentioned moisture content, and just to add to that, moisture content of between 7.5 to 11 or 12% is acceptable across board, across several lot of our buyers. Now, then another thing I need to add here is that the grains must be healthy. It must be clean. It must be healthy. Then it must be matured. Matured grains. We don't want immatured grains. Immatured grains are generally being rejected. For instance, how can we detect immatured grains for maize? We tend to find out that the grain size tends to be small, and is not. I mean, the kernel size tends to be very small. Now, and for soybeans, we tend to find out that the coloration of the grain for soybeans, sometimes you see it tends to be brownish green or greenish brown sort of. So we should look out for that. Then why okay, the grains must be, if we are going to supply, it must be within the current season. Like it must be within 12-month duration. Anything out of that, you will find out that the crop quality or the grain quality tends to fall and is generally not accepted by our buyers. So these are just highlights of additions I thought is meeting what Mr. Abdul was outlining. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gabriel, for the inputs. So I will also just quickly add a little to the oil palm aspects of specification. So for the oil palm, I believe the oil, the FFA is very important. As for the crude palm oil, when we're checking for specific ones for the buyers, it's very important that the FFA is known. That is, if you're talking to merchants that wants to supply FFA, it's very important that you know the one supply CPO. It's very important that you know the FFA. And the accepted range for FFA is 5%. So there are some CPO that have less than 5%, but it's not very common in Nigeria, I believe. So 5% to 12%. Anything higher is not accepted by buyers on our platform. Even though there are some that might accept, but very, very reduced price rates. So that's for the crude palm oil. Also for the palm kernel nuts, the process of separation for the palm kernel nuts is also important to be noted. For the palm kernel nuts, then of course you check the moisture content. Moisture content for crude palm oil and palm kernel nuts is both important. They will be checked. So for the supplier that does not know their moisture content or the FFA, it's advisable that they go it's good for testing. That is, they either take their by themselves and do the test, or they need it to ourselves for checking. That's for the CPO and PKN. That's from Kano notes. So I think those are the most important things. And of course, for the PKN, the percent of shells in the stock, the shells and percent of shells are the ones that have been unbroken, that is uncracked. It's important that the percent are gotten right before they are accepted to be supplied. I think that's the few I can add. So I believe more training will be done, physical training for the trustees and the salesmen on getting all these qualities right for supply to our buyers. Okay, so any other contribution? Well, basically, we still have our next webinar, which we will hold in the next 2 weeks. We'll also be covering quality specification. But this time around, we are inviting, it's not just in-house, it's for everybody, all our merchants, all our vendors, so we can let them know the specifications that exactly what we said here. We'll just let them know all the specifications that is acceptable for supply on the platform. So do we have any final contribution? Okay, I think since there's no other contribution, we'll end the webinar here. And then of course, we'll have to start working on our preparations for the next one. Though an email will be sent in regards to that. All right, so thank you everyone for joining. Have a good day ahead.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right.